What do you think? Where do we need to go? Do we just go away from this meeting and not do anything, or can we start moving forward?
Forward.
Well, yeah, but what are some of your ideas about ways you want to move forward?
Seems like, first of all, we have to know what the actual regulations are that are established. You know, what the rules are, and then how do we work on making better rules.
All right, so we'll need to find those rules and how we make changes. The rules, policies, but.
Well, when you say rules, I mean, do you mean local laws that deal with stormwater runoff or
Yes.
the low impact development? Is that what specifically rules you're talking
A
about?
question I had when this lady next to you was up was, do we have a unified system of building codes for the parish? We do,
Yeah.
right? And you know, are those stringent enough? Do they do they address the problems for the future? And then how do we work with that?
Some needs to change. I think that's part of the comprehensive plan for Catholic, for terms of stormwater, yes. There's some that we're chasing that to look at stormwater.
Yeah, because unfortunately, you have to legislate it sometimes or codify it before people do it. You essentially have to force them through government to do it.
I don't know whether anybody's able to hear y'all talking back and forth here. So maybe we need to just, if you're going to talk, just stand up and talk to the whole group. One of the things that I know I kept hearing was about the gray water and retention and keeping water that's coming onto off of pavement and off of parking lots. One of my questions is that safe water with all your oils and everything else that leaks from cars? What does that do to the water that comes in that we are reusing?
Well, it's Dana gives better explanations of this than I could, so she probably Dana could probably tell you in more detail because she knows a lot of this stuff pretty much just off the top of her head. I know that the types of plants that you use that actually sequester some of the oils and the heavy metals, the types of soils you use that will actually pull out and allow some of these different things to settle in, it's actually spread out over a larger area when you do a true stormwater treatment train. So when you catch it in a bioswale, when you filter it through the soils, when you put it through a retention or a detention pond, and or even through a grass field, and then filter it, and then put it out into the storm sewer system, you have a longer train, a larger area, surface area to spread those out upon. And when they're pulled out and spread out through those larger LID modules, you're keeping them on site, but they're not in dangerous sort of quantities because they're spread out over a larger area. So you're not really impeding or polluting the current site. Whereas if you use the traditional method of shoving them in a pipe and sending them out into the bayou, then the water that goes out into the bayou or the coulee is heavily polluted. It's carrying those suspended solids, it's carrying those heavy metals, it's carrying the fecal coliform and all of those. And that's more of an issue in the real native ecology than it is when you're spreading it out on a developed site.
And I think what I'm questioning is to bring it to a retention area that we come back and pump it on our plants in our own gardens. Is that going through the same process of purifying?
It sort of kind of depends on how you design it and what you do. I will say that it's not encouraged, especially if you have an asphaltic shingle or an older metal roof, it's not encouraged to use that runoff to water plants that you're then going to eat. If it's just a garden with flowers and it's not edible plants or herbs, it kind of doesn't matter because it's such a small concentration that it's really not going to hurt those plants. But I wouldn't use it for watering your vegetable garden.
Are there some other thoughts on ideas for the future of water conservation? Yes, sir.
This is all beautiful and pretty. You know, I've seen big homes and expensive businesses and hospitals. How do we do this in areas that are less fortunate? How do we help those people who can't afford to purchase all of this infrastructure? And that's just, I think we're thinking in new development, but what about some of the older areas? People who are less fortunate don't have the income to install all of this.
I believe EPA does provide some grants. I don't know specifically what the level and the type of grants are, but I know that there are grants. EPA provides clean water grants for things like that, and it involves a larger level of community involvement. You can't just expect an owner the average homeowner doesn't know nor care about, filtering stormwater and its cumulative effect on the watershed.
And that's where the education comes in.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is that the first component of our permit that we have is with education, and we go to schools, we go to, all kind of different groups, coteries, whatever, to let them know about certain things that it might not be these grand landscaping schemes that we're talking about here, which are more on a huge, municipal-wide level where maybe we're talking about landscape codes, but on the, in there, what they can do, their own yards, or that they're thinking about those kinds of things, especially starting with kids, and we can even start with litter reduction and certain things. So if somebody on there who is the lower income, who's interested in thinking about these things, there are certain ways in education that we are trying to get out there to make them think of that, including making them, a rain barrel. I mean, even if you don't purchase an expensive rain barrel, that we can educate them on how to build their own rain barrel, which we have and, which we can do, which is easy to do as well. So the education level that we do ranges in all kind of different levels depending on the group that we're trying to reach, which we do want to reach across all levels.
And education is important on a residential level, on a commercial level. These projects don't happen without education. Very few people come to landscape architects and ask for these solutions. Some do, but very few do. But there's another point, and it was spoken about in the last presentation, and that is there are some really fantastic growers out there, but there's not a lot of this material available from a plant availability standpoint. There's not a market for it, but education has to happen first. It will happen over time, and we just all have to keep grinding away.
For our notes, what is it you said? There's really some fantastic what?
Growers, plant material.
Native plant.
Native plants.
Right.
But
You have a demand for them that haven't grown.
But
That's right.
there's not a whole lot of demand for it, so that's the first thing we need to do is help support that side of the industry, maybe even get natives in local garden centers, maybe even a little display in a local garden center, whether it's profitable or not, these groups can support a little education there so that the average homeowner, and I classify myself as that, the projects that I implement are very simple, just give them a little bit of information so that they can be innovative with these strategies and do the best.
Roxanne?
We have another new shopping center being built in Lafayette, Whole Foods. I mean, I'm excited about it. But, okay, are they doing anything innovative in their parking lot? Because they get to.
Are you talking about the Whole Foods?
Yes.
Okay.
And they took some trees too.
Just a lot of trees.
I just want to know what's happening.
Well-
Are they following any guidelines or is it another
Okay,
parking lot?
there are no, in our codes, the way Lafayette government has now, the landscape codes do require a certain amount of trees, certain things, but as far as having to implement low-impact development, there are no requirements as of right now. But we contacted Whole Foods directly because they're Whole Foods and they're supposed to be environmental, and they did not want to do it because of the cost.
They never do.
Cost too much.
Never.
So they want to just do the standard because that's easily designed and easily implemented. And so we went for the different aspect because of the fact the company that was doing it, we thought this is the perfect opportunity to try to get something implemented, and we were not. Right, they're right there. They're right there.
Well, I think
Right,
it's still a letter writing.
we have another hand up here. General Alright, would you like to speak?
A special guest, General, retired Commander of the Green Army, and he's here.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come today, and it's refreshing to see people working on progressive laws in Louisiana dealing with runoff. Runoff is a big issue. We're blessed in Louisiana to have a problem with runoff. There are many states right now that are struggling to just get enough water to sustain themselves. I do recommend that we don't be like the kid that you take a feather and give them to keep themselves busy. Because the EPA, that's basically what they're doing. And it's a good program. and they're funding it. But right under the EPA's eye, the Clean Water Act, where you get your drinking water from, the Chico Aquifer, DNR has just allowed another permit to allow a company out of Atlanta to tap a hole in the Chico Aquifer. I do think that these programs, concerned about water runoff is important, but the bigger issue is how we're going to protect our drinking water. And we've got to take that legislation on because Louisiana laws don't protect drinking water. There's no protection for our drinking water. And again, the DNR has overruled the people that live around Lake Perdue, the same place where Jefferson Island was destroyed by Texaco, and now is threatened by the salt dome there by a company out of Atlanta Gas and Light. They pay hardly no tax. They're a bunch of rich guys fly around in the corporate jets. They fly in here, they go to the petroleum club, they throw a big lunch, they give away some political money, and they're about to break this Chico Aquifer by destroying the salt dome there by putting hydrocarbons in there for storage that come off all of these petroleum pipelines. They store it there till the price go up and they sell it. They make the money and nobody in that parish get anything off of that. Now look, I am for oil and gas. I like my gas in my tank and my oil in my engine. I got here this morning because of the great work of this industry that support our economy. But our challenge, ladies and gentlemen, while runoff water is important, our drinking water is being destroyed. There is an expiration date on our drinking water. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you if it's a couple decades or maybe another century. But every day we wake up, we got less drinking water than we had yesterday. And much of that is because of runoff and the clean water exceptions that does not force the industry to clean the water up or to protect it from the drinking water supply. Now, the companies can do this. We just got to work with them and make sure we demand that and the state law has to change, because state law has classified water coming from the oil wells as non-hazardous. That's a political definition of water. So here we talk about water running off of a supermarket, and we're worried about it. And here we got the state and the federal government has classified this water will be dirty for 100 years. Ask this man right here. He knows as much about it as anybody in the state. The state allowed them to inject that water into abandoned oil wells and it's getting into our aquifer. This thing's going to end up in our crawfish, it's going to end up in our rice fields. So I asked that maybe we do a follow-up session at some point in time and talk about protecting our drinking water, just as you've done this with the runoff water, which is an important issue in Lafayette. Thank you. And Johnny Green Army, 8 March, Capitol steps. We're going to tell the legislature, hey, we got to do something to protect our water.
That's going to be the best. All right, we are out of time, but I've got 2 more hands up over here. Do you want to hear what their questions are? 3 more hands up. Do you want to hear what their questions are? And if not, some of you can leave if you need to leave.
Yeah.
All right, we can keep it short, please.
Very short. To dovetail with what Ken said, we have to remember that it's not all beautiful swales and rich homes. The biggest problem that we have is the parish-wide use of alternate sewage systems. And all that runs into the river and it runs down. And it's not going to be easy. I've been on a septic tank before. It takes maintenance and it takes design in the beginning. Half of it's inherited and it's been from the past. So that's an area that we could seriously work with people rather than legislating down to people and get something done in a quick way. Just a quick comment.
Would somebody else have their hand up? Andy?
There's 2 things I'd like to address. One is, since we're developing a community of residential areas, it would be nice if they had an alternative development code for the streets, because they require curb and gutter. And it'd be nice if you could install the bioswales instead of the curb and gutter. That'd be a good alternative for the code authority to look at. The other thing is, I've seen all this beautiful landscaping of things I can't eat. So I would like the landscape guys to come up with some plans for food source landscaping, especially for the the people that can't afford this nice, great landscaping. Perhaps they can afford the trees, evergreen trees on the north side that block the winds. They have lower utility bills, things of that nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. That was our third
So
question.
I just have a few things. I just want to tell you that the Chico Aquifer during the period of 1995-2005, and this is based on the USGS water level. Okay, it has declined. The USGS has not conducted any studies or have given any kind of environmental impact statement, federal standard, to what the water they're going to take to do the salt dumps. This company will use 5 million gallons of water daily. And they have had all kinds of experts come, Eugene Owen, Baton Rouge Water, he's come. Iberia Parish had a problem with arsenic being sucked in. They had to move pumps, it costs money. We just have to protect our Chico Aquifer, and I appreciate you let me say something. I appreciate the General and all of you. Thank you so much.
General's right on, and he brings out a very important point. These issues are very important to our health, to our economic well-being, to our future. Just ask the people of West Virginia, 300,000 people that can't bathe or drink, how important it is. But the bottom line is, we're in the driver's seat if we want to drive. And that needs our understanding and participation and coming to events like this, getting informed, and then pressing our political leaders to do the right thing.
Thank you so much for all of y'all coming out here, and I think you should give yourself a round of applause simply because, if this isn't for people like us, it wouldn't get done. I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters, as I am a part of, for taking part in this forum, and I'd like to also thank the Lafayette Garden Club, the Lafayette Parish Master Gardener Association, the Sierra Club, Trees Acadiana, the Bayou Vermilion Preservation Association, the Lafayette Parish School System, in collaboration with the Lafayette Consolidated Governments Departments of Public Works, the Environmental Quality Division, the Lafayette Utility System, Community Developments, Acadiana Nature Station, and the Lafayette Public Library System. I would encourage you to please visit our information booths at the back for further information. I'm sorry we're out of time. Everybody's question might not have been asked and answered. But we hope you enjoyed this, and we'll attend future League of Women Voters events. And as I said, the League of Women Voters is not just for women anymore, so men, feel free to join.
Preceding program was made possible in part with production assistance provided by AOC Community Media.